What's up, everybody? What's up? Happy President's Day to each and every one of you. Hope you guys had a great day. For those of you that had a 3-day weekend, hope you enjoyed that. Tomorrow, back to work. Back to work. Anyway, guys, appreciate you all tonight. Charlie is working again tonight, so he will not be here. I do have a couple of surprise guests that'll pop on, hopefully. But how you like that intro video? Yeah, that was some ride. I thought that was kind of what we've been going through, yeah, for the last 2 years, going on 3 years. The roller coaster rides, um, the peaks and the valleys and the twirls and upside downs, and I thought that was so appropriate. Before we get started, I just want to say hi to my pops from Seattle, who's actually Linwood, Washington State. He just popped on, and let me just read his post. It's too big to fit on a screen. Good evening, Mel and Charlie. Good to see you folks. Just let you and the Facebook friends know that Linda, my stepmom, is in a rehab center. That COVID is a bad virus. Linda, my stepmom, has had a bad time standing and walking. Damn virus. Still need prayers from my wife, Linda. Thank you all. So keep the prayers going, guys. Keep the prayers going, please. For my stepmom, Linda, and for all those that are struggling with this disease, this horrific virus called COVID, Delta, Omicron, whatever you want to call it. And we'll talk about a little bit about that later tonight. Just wanted to greet everybody and say aloha. Um, Again, thank you all for joining us in the village. I'm sure there's a lot of people at the beach yet because it was such a beautiful day today. Not sure if I'm sure the village has been uh, paying attention to what's going on, but you know, it appears anyway. It appears that the many parts of the world, the UK, of course, many states across the country, starting to remove restrictions, lessen restrictions. Hawaii supposedly, I don't know this. I did check a couple of states a few days ago. While they did lift the outdoor mask mandate and the indoor mask mandates, they still had certain areas that the high risk areas that would still be, masks would still be required indoors. But honestly, I didn't even go look today. I just stayed home and relaxed the whole day. I think we all are so tired of COVID. We're so tired of what we've experienced over the last couple of years. And again, we still have a lot of people like my stepmom, struggling with this thing, and there's many others. I think today's report, Kauai, we have five people in the hospital. Case counts are low, and I think that's going to trigger a lot of action from the state. Uh, I on unconfirmed reports, let me just say, from two different individuals who have absolutely no connection to each other, told me today that they had heard that safe travels, or what I call the unsafe travel program, is going to be lifted on March 1st. Now, that came from two employees on different islands of Hawaiian Airlines that they had been informed. So I'm not sure if that will happen. I think the lieutenant governor has alluded to that for quite some time now. The governor has stood firm on keeping it in place, but I can understand their position when the case counts are so low uh, to justify. I think you know today I watched a couple of old episodes, old meaning 2 years ago. I watched my episode on March 18th and the one on March 21st that followed the governor's initial press conference where he was going to implement the safe travels, or I'm sorry, the quarantine for arrivals. And as I look back and I watched those two videos today, it was uh, it was quite it was, I mean, it was what was happening back then is happening today. It's the state has constantly uh, I guess in Kai Kahele's words, squandered the opportunities for for this state to do a better job. And while I understand the the people's wishes to lift all mandates and be like everybody else, we had an opportunity back 2 years ago that if we had stood firm and we had did what we wanted to do, or what we should have done, that we would have had a whole lot less illness and a whole lot less death. And we're kind of in that situation now where we're seeing what's happening across the world, across the country. And it appears, anyway, that we are going to move forward with easing up some restrictions. All right, here's our first surprise guest, guys. Welcome, Tyson Moises. Hey,
What
Tyson,
is up, brother?
stand up and show us your shirt, man. Oh,
Oh, hey. Oh, yeah, wait. Yeah, and this is just straight Quinky Dink when you called me up about this because I already had this on. What? Yeah, don't be. Oh, I.
don't be. I think a lot of our villagers may not even be aware of that shirt because we have so many new people. But don't
Anyway,
be a.
I gotta try and figure out how we can get there. Can you even see it? Dang it. I'm not set up for this. Where's the
Oh,
dude boy?
it said don't be a doodle boy. Don't be a
I don't know
doodle
where the
boy.
heck that's even at, dude.
Yeah, we had don't be a COVIDian. We had a bunch of shirts. For those of you that don't know, our good friend Kirk Correa, who has a T-shirt business, he created all these shirts, and he made and he
This is
we
too
sold them on our show, and we made almost $4,000 that was donated. He didn't take a penny. Kirk didn't take a penny, and we donated all the proceeds to the Hawaii Community Foundation's Kauai Strong Fund, and that was one of the
oh, that's
favorites, actually. That was one of the favorite shirts. So, anyway, welcome, bro. Welcome. What's happening, man?
not much, man. Just came back from the west side. Well, I'm at high school
Yeah,
baseball practice.
yeah. Well, Charlie informed me that he wasn't going to be able to make it because they got audits going on right now, TSA audits of the hospitals. I mean the hospitals, the airports. So I figured, what the heck? Let's ask Tyson to come on. And oh yeah, the Okole Puka. That was another. That was another top seller. Don't be an Okole Puka.
That's the one.
That's the one. I should have wore mine. I actually wore my pray every day shirt only because that's what we got to do. But anyway, Tyson, we were just talking about the. It appears anyway. By the way, that's Tyson, the one you saw in the paper that helped me with the KN95 masks to the schools. We're going to wrap it up on Wednesday. By the way, all the elementary schools are going to get them, charter as well as public. We're gonna wrap it all up and get all of the rest of the masks out on Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. sharp. So anyway, I just wanted to bring Tyson on, change of pace, bring a new face. He's been on our show before, but just so we can talk story, impromptu, unscripted as we always are. I was just sharing with our village that it appears that we are moving towards opening up completely. It appears. I was sharing that I had heard from two different employees from two different islands of Hawaiian Airlines that they were informed, they have already been informed that March 1st, safe travels, or what I call the unsafe travel program, will be lifted. Aside from these employees hearing it from work, I have not confirmed it with any government officials, so take it for what it's worth. But it's going to happen, folks. And I guess that's kind of where I wanted to share tonight and discuss about where do we go from here. I think for the last 2 years we've tried our best in rallying up the troops and creating this little village of ours that have gone out and shared good information. But as the days drug on and as we got farther and farther away from the Delta peak and the hundreds of people dying every day in Hawaii, people started to get tired, and now people are listening to the media, and everywhere they're lifting restrictions, lifting mandates in many places, and the way they're framing it is Hawaii is the last place. Well, Hawaii is the last place because we trail the mainland and other countries by 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks in some cases. So that's why we're still not doing what they're doing. But the problem is COVID is not done. The pandemic is not done. But we need to prepare ourselves for the lifting of restrictions. It's going to happen, people, and there's nothing that's going to stop that, except COVID. God forbid we get another major surge. God forbid we get a different variant. Then they may start for looking at putting restrictions back. That's why I ran the roller coaster intro tonight, because that's so appropriate for what we've been going through, and I think what we're going to be going through. So anyway, that's kind of the discussion, Tyson. It is what it is, guys. So where do we go from here, right? Where do we go as villagers? Well, where we go from here now is really taking care of ourselves, taking care of our loved ones, making sure that we act in a safe manner wherever we go, whatever we do.
Yep.
That's where it lies right now. That's where it lies, because obviously this state is on track, right? We got a lieutenant governor that's running for governor and is telling everyone what they want to hear. We have a governor who I mean, I have no clue what he's doing. Um, so, for all intents and purposes, it's in our hands now, right? We gotta take care. Yes, Marie, this new variant is spreading like wildfire, but that's okay, right? That's okay, because Hawaii, we're going to do what we're going to do, and we're going to, if in fact we lift safe travels on March 1st, I can assure you that this next wave, this next surge, is going to happen pretty quickly. So I don't know, Tyson, what's your thoughts, bro?
No, well, well, first off, I don't think I give the village an official hello and welcome. But you know why we're last, right? We're last because honestly, and we've all been to many states around the nation, we care the most. It's plain and simple. We care the most about all our people. We're not gonna just throw people to the side, right? You get majority of every island, somebody stuck on the side of the road with flat tire car trouble. Somebody's gonna stop. You're not gonna just drive by. So I'm not shocked that Yahoo News report that I sent to you saying Hawaii is the lone state to not have any indoor mask mandates lifted yet, because we will be the last. And honestly, we should be last. It was funny. At the park, I was talking with one of my friends, and she was asking, we were talking about ending the safe travels program. And she goes, "What do you think about that?" I said, "I think it's horrible for our state." I said, "Unlike other states, we all know you can drive into the borders, right? We got that one unique protection of the ocean." I said, "Even if people lie about their vaccination status, more people with any rule or law, more people follow it than they do not, right? Like a seatbelt. More people can wear the seatbelt than those that won't." So it's the same thing. We still require people to either get vaccinated or test or show proof. More people coming in probably were vaccinated versus the people who try cheating the system. So, it's going to be interesting if come March, the safe travel program ends, because we all know funding ends as well. Although I think didn't Iggy Poo say that funding would still have funding for the remainder of the year. So it's going to be interesting and curious as to how the state kind of pivots when safe travels no longer exist. Like for me at the hotel, I'm gonna be honest, safe travels are not. It doesn't concern me much because I know what we do at the hotel. Personally, I can't speak for every hotel or resort around the state, but I know what we do there, and we get a lot of people who come from different states. Are like, "Oh, you guys still got to wear masks?" Yeah, it's kind of simple. I wish I could just tell some of them, "You can go to Florida; they don't need a mask." I go, people always gonna be coming to Hawaii. So hey, like any other time, do your research. You come to Hawaii during the winter. Does it rain during the winter in Hawaii? Yes, it does. Don't be shocked if you see a little bit of raindrops in the morning. So I'm just curious to see as certain restrictions here or policies or procedures kind of end, how things are going to be looking island and statewide.
Well, I mean, it's we know what will happen. We know what will happen if we open uh, if we drop safe travels. I mean, it's inevitable. I mean, it's no secret, right? We know what's going to happen. Although safe travels really didn't protect us much, but I think there's a lot of people that did not fly to Hawaii because of the safe travels program. They didn't want to get tested, and they definitely don't want to get vaccinated. Those are the ones that are going to now, as soon as we lift the program, they're gonna book their flights. So we will see a spike. I mean, we will. And I'm curious, how will the state deal with that? Will they acknowledge that they may have uh, lifted it too soon? Um, I honestly cannot see it not having an impact on our case counts or our illness. And it's not going to be the visitors because they'll be back on the mainland by the time they get sick, and it's going to be the contacts that they had made while they were here, and that's I
Hey,
think what I'm
Mel,
concerned.
honestly, I don't think the current administration will blink an eye. Even if something goes bad, I don't think they'll never admit, hey, you know what, we did this a little too soon, a little too early, because they haven't done that with anything throughout this pandemic. So it's not going to be anything changed from the norm of what's going on right now.
Yeah, yeah, and I know. I think the other the other big variable um, that we have to acknowledge as fact and as a contributing factor is the number of people that come here. They're 25,000, 20,000, 25,000 a day, not counting the cruise ships. That's a lot of people moving around from other parts of the world and other parts of the country. And again, I think if you, as I was listening to my old episodes 2 years ago, it was amazing how much credit I gave the lieutenant governor because back then, remember, he was so pro safety. And then of course, he flipped, right? But I remember, I remember, I actually saw in the video where I said, I really wish that the lieutenant governor was in charge. Oh my gosh, how that has changed. But it's already, um, he's already made the decision. He's already crossed that line that it's safe to open up. And, he's going after safe travels first and then the mask mandate. And it's quite alarming, I guess, especially the masks. I know there's a lot of people that believe the mask mandates should be lifted, and I know there's a lot of people. Trust me, I've seen all the hate mail and the hate comments and the threats that the masks are a hazard. Well, it is what it is, guys. I there are studies that basically say both sides or confirm both sides of the issues, but I would ask any one of you. I usually get really sick once a year, a bad cold or the flu once a year, and maybe sometimes even twice. But I haven't gotten sick in 2 years. I haven't gotten sick in 2 years. And the only thing I have done differently, I still don't eat right. I still don't exercise. I still don't do all the things I should be. The only thing different is I wear a mask everywhere I go. Everywhere I go in the public, I wear a mask. And that's the only different activity that I've done. And so, without being a scientist and just personal experience, I can tell you that mask has prevented me from getting sick. Now, I would ask any of our villagers if that's not true of you. I'd really like to hear it because my wife hasn't gotten sick. Uh, so it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Again, my son was on the show last week, and he was saying he understands why Hawaii has to be a little more strict because of the availability of hospital resources. Yeah, we are different. We're not like the mainland. Like my son was saying, he can go to one hospital 5 minutes this way, 5 minutes that way, 10 minutes. He's surrounded by medical facilities should he need to get to a hospital. But um, we don't have that luxury here. We don't have that luxury. I don't know, John. You still don't know. You are assuming. I'm not sure which part.
No, I think he might be referring to the masks that you
Oh,
still don't know if they don't work. But hey, I'll tell you this much with regards to masks. I just had a conversation with one of my coworkers the other day, and I made that reference with. wearing your mask under your nose all day, it's like wearing prescription glasses on your forehead. It's not being used for the intended purpose. So he went to me. So you think me not wearing this mask right now is, just example, pulling him down is useless? And I go, yeah. I said, I told you this, me and another coworker, we worked so many hours since December. I said, I'm shocked that I haven't caught it. I said, I've just been around a lot of strangers and ding dongs that I'm shocked I haven't caught it, you know? And I said, the only two layers of protection I got, I'm boosted and I use my mask all the time. And I try and just use some space and distance myself, but I'm semi outdoors, right? Our front drive, yes, there's a covering, but I'm outdoors with wind. But like, I must encounter just like a normal day today, what, 200-300 people. You take that into account every week. It's thousands in a week, in a month. So I told him, yeah. I said, I think the only reason why I haven't caught it at the hotel was because I wear my mask. And I can't explain anything else, because we've had, like any other business or resort, we've had cases, we've had departments, we've had restaurants that had to shut down because there's no staffing. So I said, I'm literally shocked, dude, that it hasn't happened. Even when my daughter caught it 2 weeks ago, I still tested twice a week and I was all right, which, fortunate for us. And same thing I told her. I said, we got the booster not to prevent us from getting it, just to minimize the risk that we ever got to get hospitalized and anything else worse happens. So, for her, she was good. But no, yeah, nobody else in our house caught it. So I just think, hey, I told people back in 2021, when we didn't know how long this was going, I said, hey, when we reopen, I said, they get rid of the mask mandate, I still can wear my mask. I said, I'm used to it. It ain't going to hurt me. So I'm curious to see how many people actually do decide to continue using a mask once our indoor mask mandate is gone.
Yeah. Well, you have had people at your hotel catch COVID. I mean, it's and they could be outdoors, they could be indoors. I mean, COVID is a non-discriminating disease, right? It's just that if you put your mask under your nose for that split second that the virus is in the air, if you choose to lead or live a risky life and go to the bars and the restaurants and hey, I'm gonna ask one time only. I'm only gonna give you one
No,
time. I asked you guys the last time, do not engage with people that you don't agree with. We welcome all comments on this unless it gets personal. When it gets personal, you will be blocked. Okay? Please. I thought I made that clear at the last one, and yes, we're not debating, John. We're
no. Hey, and
and
and and to be honest, villagers, what John is saying is true. I'm happy if he doesn't use a mask, he doesn't get sick, because there are people that have been fortunate like that. We also know people, unfortunately, who may have been in a crowd without a mask and they caught it. I said, there's nothing that's 100%. We all know that right now. So I said, hey, I always say, do what you gotta do, what you think is best for yourself. If you can, if you're thinking of others as well, great. But we can't control what other people do, right? We only control what we can do. So
and
that's how I look at it when I'm at work.
that was the whole topic for tonight was because we see where we're headed with the state, so it's gonna become on each of us to make sure that we're safe. I think we have to understand what you need to do to keep you and your loved ones safe. You know, again, for me, it's very simple, right? I live next to my mother-in-law who's 84. I don't want to be the one that passes her a virus that could potentially kill her. I don't. So I am going to do whatever it takes. And you know what? 20 years from now, well, I don't know if I'll be around 20 years from now, 10 years from now, they could come back and tell me, Mel, the masks never really help. Okay. And what? Was it that much of a stress for me to put on a mask? Absolutely not. It really, it's irrelevant. You do what you believe is right, understanding though that you are also responsible for making sure others are safe. So that's all. That's all my point is. And we've never, again, Tyson, as long as we've never pushed the vaccine. Yeah, we have we've been vaccinated. Charlie and I have been vaccinated, but we respect everybody's position, understanding that there's again you can argue a specific study, you can argue a specific opinion. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. I always say this from I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years ago. Do we really need a governor's order, right? Do we really need a governor's order to tell us what we need to do, or should we be able to do it on our own? We had people complaining about the tourists in Waikiki walking around without a mask. Just don't go near them, right? If you walk into a store or you walk into an area, stay away from people that you believe might be unsafe. That's what you need to do, because we're not going to change this governor's mind. We're not going to change this lieutenant governor's mind. This industry is too strong, and the lobby is very, very strong. So we got to do what we believe is right. It's like drunk driving, right? Driving while you're drinking. We all know that's not good, but there's still people out there that believe that they're not going to get drunk, that they can drive drunk until they crash and they hurt somebody or kill themselves or kill someone else. And then they sit back and realize, oh my gosh, it's the same thing, right? We make that choice, right? You want to drink and you want to drive. Yes, it's against the law. Most of them don't get caught, and there's many drunk drivers on the road. But we, as individuals that want to go out and go to a bar, well, then you should have a designated driver, right? It's about responsibility. So that's all I'm saying, guys. From this point forward, we really have the debate is useless. The debate is not gonna make this virus go away. It really won't make the virus go away. So now it's on our shoulders. Uh, See, John, I'm not sure if you wear a mask and believe you are protected, then why for? I'm not forcing anybody to wear a mask, John. I don't know why people.
Yeah,
Tyson and I got labeled child abusers,
we got
because
labeled quite a bit of crap.
yeah, I ain't forcing nobody to do anything. I'm not, and I'm just telling you, I will continue to wear my mask, and that's my choice.
Right?
Okay,
Hey,
thanks, John.
uh,
Thanks for clarifying, John.
so
Appreciate it,
Mel,
man.
well, anyway, with the forcing, right? What was the common theme when we dropped them off at the schools? What did they ask us? Okay, what are we supposed to do with them? You do whatever the heck you want. We're giving it to you guys as an option to help your staff, your students, whatever you want. Hey, this was donated to you. You can do anything that you want. It's like nothing's getting forced on anyone.
Yeah. The problem when you get into a setting of a public setting, whether it's a school, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's honestly, I mean, if I was planning to go to a function or whatever, any place, a public place, and if I walked in and no one had masks, I just wouldn't go. That'd be my choice. And the people that went into that restaurant or bar, it was their choice, understanding that there is a risk. And that's just my own point of view, and that's my choice. So my whole point in the discussion tonight is really to go forward. How are we going to make sure? I'm going to make sure my wife is safe, my mother-in-law is safe. I'm going to make sure the people that I love are safe. And it's very simple, right? It's making sure they understand that they need to do things to protect themselves. That's all this is. That's all this is. And once everybody's uh, once everything is lifted, then holy moly, you got one of them too?
Oh, I got two of them, but no one across the driveway to my in-laws. So I'm sure
Oh,
they, they sense everything, man. A gecko goes up on top of the ceiling and they're barking. So good watchdogs.
yeah. So anyway, again, that's where it's going to end up, because my prediction is by the end of March, I think Hawaii, will be restriction free. I believe that, and I think, in fact, I'm, have no reason to doubt what I was told today about the Safe Travels program, and we shall see. We shall see.
Oh no, hey, I agree with you, man. I think especially the indoor mask. Honestly, you know when I think it's gonna end? After the school year ends. They're gonna keep it for the rest of this school year, so students still got it. And by summer, indoor mask mandate. It's no more.
Yeah. Well, it will still be the I cannot wait to walk into a place. What can the village do to help the burned out healthcare workers? Oh gosh, Marie, I don't know. There's burnt out teachers. There's burnt out cops. There's burnt out firefighters. There's burnt out. I mean, there's a lot of people burnt out right now, and it's. I honestly don't know how to answer that question. The state, they have their they basically have their little crutch, yeah, call uh, the feds and tell them we need more nurses and more doctors, and that's what they do, right? They have that crutch. The problem with COVID, and I remember, I mean, I was watching my video from 2 years ago, and in the governor's press conference, he said that they may tighten up the restrictions. This was the day he announced that the quarantine was going to start in a couple of weeks, or in a week, March 21st, I believe it was, of 2020. And he said, we may consider tightening up the restrictions once we see community spread. Remember now, back in 2020, there was very little known about this virus. In fact, back in March of 2020, as I was watching that video, it made me remember that we didn't even have testing unless you had symptoms. Remember? Unless you had symptoms, you couldn't get a test. The screening was only a temperature check. And then we find out you didn't have to have fever to be able to spread COVID. So we didn't know. And it's no fault of anyone at that point because we didn't know. But now we do, right? Now we've seen enough. There's enough roadmaps across the world that we can follow. But the problem with COVID, and the problem with COVID when you're in a community like Hawaii, especially on an island like Hawaii, uh, 9 ICU beds. So if we wait for the next surge before we take action, it's really too late. It's really too late. And and that is my fear, Tyson. As I'm watching the numbers in other places that are like Guam. Guam, this new BA2 has overtaken the BA1. It has completely consumed Guam. Now, if that happens in Hawaii again, it's too late, right? Because hospitalizations trail the sickness. I mean, I'm sorry, hospitalization trail the cases, the positives, and then death follows the hospitalizations. So it's too late. And this is where I battle. And I know it's tough. I know how tough it must be for the governor because here you're looking at the case counts dropping. How can you continue with the restrictions? Well, I mean, for me, it's understanding the trends of this variant, this virus that we've seen. One thing this virus has been is the consistency of how it can overtake a community. Yeah, there's no dispute about that. We know, and people will tell you, oh, Omicron was less severe, blah blah blah. But if you look at the hospitalizations and deaths, it's it's it peaked higher than Delta. So it was too late, right? We reacted too late, and unfortunately, a lot of people died unnecessarily. And that's all I want to prevent. Listen, that's what this boils down to, right? How many lives is an acceptable number uh, for our government? How many lives? What, is it 100, 200, 300? Oh, because they're old or they're compromised, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it should be no deaths, right? It should be zero deaths are acceptable if we can prevent it. Now, Tyson, you work in the hotel industry. I know there was a lot of talk about we had to we had to open up, or the industry. Yeah, the hotel industry struggled and suffered for a while. But once we got back open and there were restrictions in place and there were certain mandates in place, even with the safe, what I call the unsafe travel program, the hotels still were seeing a lot of visitors come in. And
Yep.
I don't think that if we went and expanded, if we had expanded safe travels to require testing of every passenger coming into Hawaii, resident or not, I don't think the impact to tourism would be that much. I really don't, especially because you could now promote the state as a safe destination.
Yeah, no, people would still come. I told you this freaking months ago, last year, right? I said people would still come. The only way they wouldn't come is if it was completely restricted, right? It's like going into Walmart. If it's open, people are gonna go. So when we were open to come here, people were still coming. Hey, quick one. I just want to go back, clarify, because I saw Nancy posted something about why would anyone question what would they do with the mask? No, saying they weren't questioning what we're going to do with the mask. They literally, because of this, remember the masks that they got from the state, they had specific guidelines as to who could use them. So they were curious, okay, what we can do with these masks? We said, you can do anything you want. It's not restricted where only certain people can use them. Anybody can use it because everybody was gracious when they came in and stoked. First place we went, Kapa High School, and Tommy John Cox was ecstatic that these guys all got these masks. So yeah, it wasn't. I want to make sure nobody thinks that anybody was questioning, like, oh, what are we gonna do this mask or why are we getting this mask? They're all grateful for them. So, but yeah,
Hey, real quick, Phil Bankwell, mahalo, brother. I see the Shaka sign. Amazing service the other day for your brother, um, Dave Bankwell, police officer, super duper guy.
yeah,
Lost
Phil, my
battle
man.
with COVID a month ago or so, a little over a month ago. Love you, Philip. Love your family. Condolences, brother.
Yep,
Um,
same here. Sorry, couldn't make it because I had to work, dude.
again, when you go to a funeral of a friend, and they did a drive-through, they did it very safely. When you got to go hug a friend and tell them you're sorry because of this virus, then it hits home that this is not a flu. This is not a cold. This is not the influenza. So, anyway, brother, mahalo for jumping in, man. Mahalo for jumping in. Love you, man. So, anyway, yeah, the other thing, too, Tyson, regarding those masks at the schools, it was very clear that these were not mandatory issue to the kids. These masks were going to be used for the children that wanted them and needed them and couldn't afford it. And I shared with you on our last show how one of the schools had received some angry phone calls from parents. Don't you dare give my kid any of those masks. Again, whether the mask mandate is taken away or not, if I still had kids in school, I would have them wear a mask. Uh, Again, I'm not here to debate. I'm just saying this is what I would do as a person that has followed this thing from day one and has read multiple studies on both sides of the issue. I believe masks work. Is that accurate? Is that right? I don't know. That's up to you to decide. But based on what I have read, what I have followed, what I have done, my own research and due diligence, it was very clear to me that the masks are they 100%? No, no. Is anything 100%? No.
Nope.
So, but thanks for clearing that up, man. As far as the masks. So again, Wednesday we'll do elementary, and again, I mean, will every child go stand in line to get one? Absolutely not. Uh, but will it be available if they do? Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So the math says N95 mask works. Yeah, I mean, again, you can pull studies off the internet and see taxes are 100%. Yeah, yeah. I kind of dread getting my tax returns this. I mean, not my tax returns. It's a tax return only if you get a return. I'm so worried that somebody got to pay for all the monies that was given away.
Hey,
Somebody
I
got
said the same thing because last year for all of us unemployed, we got that federal tax break, right? The 10,200. And if people didn't know, that was basically the 600 a month they gave all the way to July. So basically, but shit, man, still gonna have to pay some for the first 3 months of this year. So I was like, dang. I was like, it being unemployed wasn't a fun thing, and now I'm paying again for it. There's no tax break for 2021. We had it for 2020. So like, oh, I might have to sell a few more helmets, I think.
yeah, I swear to God, man, I kind of dread. I'm gonna, you know, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna wait, I think, and see what happens. I'm just not gonna file this year and wait till they come back and, you know, I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. But anyway,
Yeah.
we shall see, guys. It's not safe to wear a mask for too long. Okay. Again, uh, I, I don't like wearing that mask. I'll be honest with you. It's become a habit now. It's become a habit, and it's like anything else. I remember playing football the first time, and you had to wear the shoulder pads and that heavy helmet, and it was so hot. And I remember thinking, I am not going to be able to go through a whole practice with all this on. But after a while, yeah, it's just like wearing a shirt. You actually didn't even feel like you had anything on, and it's kind of how the masks have become for me. That my daughter has to wear a mask. She works in a salon. She has to wear a mask her entire shift. My son works in a gym. He has to wear his mask the entire shift, and it's not a problem. And it was interesting what my son, and I don't know, Tyson, I think you probably watched last week when my son said he wears his mask because he doesn't want to get his clients sick, right? People that
Yeah.
he have grown to come to know real well, and he has a lot of senior citizen clients. I mean, um, and again, I think that's just part of being raised here in Hawaii.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think that's Hawaii-born type mentality. Because I do the same. Like, I, I don't enjoy wearing masks, but like you said, second nature. As you can tell, I'm follically challenged up on top, but lots of facial hair. And dude, wearing a mask, it gets hot, it gets itchy. I got sensitive skin, so it gets dried out. I'm like, so, but for people to say you're wearing a mask all day long, I don't know. You might have to talk to yourself or talk to your kids because I work 8 hours. I don't wear my mask for 8 straight hours. I walk away if it gets hot. I take it off. I breathe. I tell my kids the same thing in school. I said, hey, if it gets too hot or whatnot, remove yourself to a safe space. Take off your mask for a little while, right? So I said, you shouldn't be putting yourself in any type of health harm because you're wearing your mask. So I think that can be avoided. But a quick one because I see the comments too. I think Janelle said you needed to have your taxes taken out of your unemployment. I did, but keep in mind, unemployment is considered earned income, so you gotta claim it. So without the tax break there, whatever we got, you still got to claim. So it's gonna tax us. The
Yeah,
beauty of Uncle Sam.
yeah, yeah. He doesn't discriminate either, bro.
Oh,
Everybody gets it in the shorts. Everybody
heck
gets
no.
it in the shorts.
Yeah.
And we didn't get any, we didn't get any of those benefits. We were blessed. My wife and I both were blessed that actually my wife had a period of furloughs. She works at the court, but the court is not closed since this thing started, and she gets quite frustrated when when she hears about like the legislature and the councils, when everybody, department, what do you call that, unemployment, and all these government offices cannot open because they're concerned about the safety of their employees, and yet the courthouse has been open, you know, for the entire time. So I do not blame her for being
Yeah.
frustrated.
The courthouse says, "Hey,
Uh,
come on, my everybody, come
Hey,
on in."
come on in, baby.
So,
Marlene Moises is asking, what do you think the true positive numbers are now that people are doing home testing? I think I rely again on the experts that have been on our show. It can be anywhere from 4 to 5 to 8 times. I've heard. It's again this virus, because Many carriers are asymptomatic. A lot of the home tests are not. I mean, all of the home tests. None of the home tests are being reported to the state Department of Health. So yeah, I'd probably say conservatively about 5 times more. I would guess. Library has been open, but people think we're closed. Okay, well that's good to know. Abernett, thank you. Libraries are open, so if you want to go to
Well,
the library.
I'm never a good person to talk about libraries because I thought they were closed all my life.
Me too.
Yeah.
Um, I remember. I think I got kicked out of the library more than anyone else on the planet, bro.
Well, I got
When I was very
obviously I
young.
got told shh many a times.
Yeah, well, the shh follows the get out. No, I'm sorry. The get out follows the shh. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people throughout. I mean, especially in the last 6 months, been saying, we got to get away from we haven't been locked down. There is no lockdown. There has never. The lockdowns were early on, the curfews and all of those things. Where is the lockdown? There is no lockdown. The bar on Kauai, you can walk into the restaurants, you can walk into the bars, you can walk wherever you want. There's no requirement for a vaccination card. There's no requirement for a test. There is no lockdown. And again, I'm not sure why people continue to say get rid of the lockdowns. We don't have a lockdown. We do have restrictions. We definitely have restrictions, but I don't know when the last time anyone was arrested for a violation of the governor's order. Uh, at least here on Kauai, uh, is very lax, and everyone has really moved on with their lives, and for the most part, and especially churches. I mean, churches are wide open, wide open, and are getting clusters. The reporting is always suspect, has always been suspect for me, and how much do you trust the numbers? Again, all of those things doesn't matter, right? What matters is that you make sure restrictions are equal to lockdown. No, lockdown is a lockdown where you're not able to go out. When we had the lockdown, you could only go to the store for essential items. You could only go to the doctor. You have to be in your house between 9 and 5 in the morning, 9 at night to 5. No, no, that's a lockdown. But a restriction to be 6 feet apart, that's not a lockdown. That's not a lockdown. I mean, it's
True. Here, here, Mel.
I
Here,
have
here's a
my life.
couple.
My life has not changed, except because I choose not to go to funerals. Again, with the funeral I just talked about, there was a drive-through, and I really appreciated that. Um, so I didn't get out of my car, but that's my choice, right? But everything else is open. Right? Everything else is open. There's no lockdown.
Yeah, hey, Mel. Couple quick examples of restrictions. Right. This is pre-pandemic. Go back to the library. A restriction in the library is yelling. You can't yell, but you can still go into the library. Or no running around the pool. That's a restriction. They're not locking down the pool where you can't go in. Just, hey, Tyson, stop running around the damn pool. Right.
Yeah.
So, and I understand, right? Early on, especially when we started allowing a little bit more things, like, to me, the hardest one must have been for people, and I can't attest to this. Charlie could, you can with friends, was the funeral aspect of it all. You couldn't have a funeral. So now waiting, and then when you finally could have a funeral, there was X amount of people who were allowed to even attend, and then all of that. So those type of things, I think probably must have been the hardest for all people with attendance. Like I'll say this, I said this 2 years ago, I'll say it now. Things like a prom or graduation, that could always be done later. Yes, it might not happen, but I didn't think that was important, right? Kids got their degree. I know it's a significant moment, but you could still celebrate with your child or your family member and congratulate them having their diploma. It was difficult to say goodbye to somebody in a hospital because you couldn't enter. So I think that aspect of the lockdowns or the restrictions and not allowing people around certain areas, I think that had to have been the hardest thing.
again, inconvenience, right? It's so hard. It's so hard to not see your kid walk. I mean, that is a huge, huge part of your life. But again,
Yeah.
when you look at the part of history that these kids participated in, uh, is something that they gave up a lot. They sacrificed a lot. The sports, all of that. But it's because we were in the middle of a pandemic. It's not because
And,
of bad
no, that,
weather.
and that's the
Or
key. That's the key. It was in the middle of pandemic. If it was normal times, important things, right? But
yeah,
you
yeah,
actually can get back a high school graduation ceremony. Yes, it may not be right when you graduate. You can still have a ceremony, is what I'm saying. You can have the ceremony. Like you said, sports, those, especially the spring sports, those kids who are juniors and seniors, they can't get that back. College, you could get additional eligibility. These kids, they couldn't get certain things back. You could still have ceremonies and whatnot, and give tribute
and
to whatever it was, but you can't get back certain things.
and for many of these kids, that was their opportunity for college, right? That junior senior year that they could not play, that in fact no one would be able to watch the scouts. So I mean, life changing events. But again, we're in a pandemic. We were in a pandemic, and remember that was during the peak, right? That's when COVID was just going crazy, and a lot of people were dying. And why would you want to risk your child's life going to an event like that? Seriously. I just want to go back to the funerals. We did my grandma's service. That was the only funeral I've ever gone to uh, since the pandemic. I don't even go to funerals normally anyway, but it was at the Immaculate Conception Church, and I got to tell you, they're strict. They were strict. I mean, the social distancing, the mask, everything was enforced in that church. They have a team of ladies that's all they do. They walk and they make sure it's safe. Um, it is what it is, and this is not a normal time. And how we grow up. Remember when we grew up and we went to history class and we went to reading about the pandemics of the past, and can remember us saying, "Oh my gosh, can't imagine how rough it would have been if we were there." Those poor things. Well, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, people are going to be reading about the COVID or coronavirus pandemic. And that's what I told my kids. You guys are part of history. You guys are part of history because down the road, decades from now, people are going to look back and read about this pandemic, and you're going to be part of it. You're going to be part of that history. So yes, it comes with sacrifice. But imagine if we didn't have that. Imagine if we allowed the proms to continue. Imagine if we allowed the graduations to continue. Can you imagine how many people would have got sick and how many people would have died? So I mean, again, it's a decision that was made that I fully supported. We at that point we were more concerned about saving lives, and yeah, a lot of people got lifetime moments taken away. I can only imagine what their fifth year a reunion is going to be like, or their 10th reunion is going to be like. Can you imagine having to plan a 10 year? Kevin is in Dubai. Holy crap! My daughter was just there. What's up,
Goodish.
Kevin? Dubai. I want to go there. I heard it's very expensive though, like really expensive.
I don't
But
know.
yeah, Tyson, if you and I had to plan our 10-year class reunion, how much fun that would be, how much fun that will be. Because you're gonna, I mean, geez, the first thing we would do is have them walk, do the walk. 10 years later, or
But just
whatever.
just
Do it.
imagine what kind of themes are gonna get thought of.
I know. Yeah, it's gonna be something. It's gonna be something. It's hard to measure prevention effectiveness. Yeah, I always use that with our lifeguards. Because the lifeguards report how many lives they save. But when I sat on a council, we go through budget sessions with the lifeguards. I say it's so difficult to determine how many lives you've saved because the person that you said, "Hey, don't go in the water," if not for you being there, that person would have gone in the water and he could have drowned. So that's exactly right. It's hard to judge the benefits of prevention because you prevented it, right? So your action of preventing it prevented it from becoming counted. So anyway, yeah, it's I think a lot of people will look back at this one day and I think some will appreciate what was done. Some will still be angry. But again, as I was saying earlier, though, Tyson, as we move forward, it's harder and harder to justify restrictions because the way the media portrays it, the way our state government portrays that we're in a good place. So it's hard for them to continue to say we're in a good place and not remove restrictions, right? It's funny how all the politicians say we're in a good place, all the medical experts say we better be careful, and that is the, the contradiction right now. That's where we have the conflict between the politicians and the medical experts. So, I, again, go back to my initial question: where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
Okay, like Kawhi always says, we're just going to keep on going. Kawhi, we're going to keep going. It it's just going to come down to everything like it was pre-pandemic. You going to start doing what you feel is best for yourself and your family. Some will think of others, some won't, but that's life. That's
Yeah.
right there. I had to laugh. My daughter was crawling to not be on camera. She wasn't even close, but she was crawling on the ground. I saw.
What? Oh, there she is. There she is. Was that her?
Nope.
Oh, yeah. Why don't they want to be on camera? She should come on. Have her come on. I like to hear a kid's perspective on COVID.
E- Eden normally does. Eden, you want to come on? Uncle Mel, like ask you a question.
Hi.
Right here. Right here.
Hi.
What's up? Come in the camera. Come in the camera. Come in the camera.
Okay. Hi.
What grade are you?
Six.
What?
Six.
Sixth grade.
Yeah.
Six. Yeah, six.
Are you ready for COVID to be over?
Yeah.
How's the mask wearing? Does a mask bother you?
No.
I gotta ask, do you wear it the whole time or do you step aside when they're not watching and you catch a few breaths of air?
I work the entire time.
Huh?
I work the entire time.
You do? You
Most
never take it
times.
off during class?
Huh?
You never take it
No.
off uh during lunch?
No.
Or
Oh wait, unless I'm eating.
no?
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing. I mean, I think Tyson, like what you said, the kids go outside, they go on the playground.
Okay, bye.
I mean, bye bye, thank you. If I'm a teacher or if I'm in charge, I don't know if they get campus aides or whatever. I don't know how it works today, but I would make sure the kid understands that if you walk to the fence and you're away from everybody and you want to take off your mask, feel free to do so. I mean, it's safe outdoors, away from anyone. Take off your mask, get some breaths of fresh air, and then when you come back to your classroom, or when you come back near people, you put it back on. I mean, that those are kinds of things. I can't imagine teachers are forcing kids to keep the thing on and they take it off and drink their milk or whatever they drink nowadays and close it down, put it back on. We got to be reasonable and we got to be practical, but we also got to be safe and understanding that this virus does spread in schools. There's another thing that bothers me is how the DOE constantly says there is no spread in schools, that all the virus comes from outside. It's kind of like the same thing the Department of Health says and our Lieutenant Governor says about the visitors, right? No, it's all community spread. Nothing comes in with the visitors. Yeah, because this virus is so smart. It knows the difference and it's not going to jump on a visitor. It's only going to hit the locals, returning residents, and blaming all the local people. Same thing. Why can't they just be real and say, yes, spread is happening in our school. That's why we got to mitigate. We got to have these mitigation measures. That's why we require kids to wear a mask. That's why we do what we do. Same with the tourists, right? And the visitors and the travelers. Why do we have to constantly say it's not the travelers? If anything, it's our returning residents. Like, really? Is there a difference? You've seen the airport lately? were the people all lining up to get TSA screened or at baggage claim, and these guys, it's quite common to see the modified use of the mask under the nose, or some of them just not even wearing them. But no, that's not contributing. Yeah, it's all from residents coming back from Vegas or California, which I thought was quite ridiculous. Yeah, why can't they just be real and honest with the people? I think I'd respect them a whole lot more if they were just uh, honest, honest. I mean, Tyson, you said your daughter had it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
I'm assuming, and I don't know this, but I'm assuming she got it from school.
yeah. It's the only place she went. She didn't start softball until um actually this week, because she couldn't go last week or first week, and I didn't bring it home because, like I said, test my wife didn't, my son didn't, so she didn't go any place, and it's not like we go out to eat or we've gone to any gatherings. So my unexpert scientific deduction is it happened at school, but you can't tell. Maybe she caught it, you know. Um, yeah, I have no idea where. Besides that, but
Well,
it is what it is, right? So same thing I tell them uh when they go to school: just do your best to protect yourself, and then protect yourself against others. I said we can you can't control what other people do. Like I said earlier, I said it kind of is eventually bound to happen. So just hopefully it's not as severe as others get it, and you can kind of get better. And that's how I say get better and not recover, right? Because we honestly don't. I hate that. Uh, Everybody 100% recover. We all know from all the people who've been on here, or personal friends and acquaintances, and then not everybody recovers.
yeah. Um, yeah, and that's we did the show on the long COVID. It's becoming now people are talking about it, right? Because it's so common. And again, that's again why I have trouble with the saying that this is like the flu, or it's not like the flu. The flu doesn't have the long flu symptoms. It doesn't. My again, I my dad early on came on and said that my stepmom now is in rehab. This affected her heart. This affected her legs. Obviously affected her lungs, and she's still in the hospital. She's in a
Right.
rehab now. Spoke to a good friend of mine today. Uh, it's now affected the liver months after the infection. Uh, it's we know the long COVID is serious, and we also know that it affects a lot of people. It affects 40 to 50% of them quite severely. So it's not the flu. And people need to stop saying that it's the flu. It's not. You don't recover from COVID.
Yeah.
You survive COVID, but you don't recover from COVID.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? That's why I'm reluctant to use the word recovered even with my daughter, because I think Dana asked how is she doing. She's doing great. Thanks for asking. Her symptoms: she had a 103 temperature on a Sunday, fever broke the next day, but she had dry and sore throat for about 3 or 4 days. By that Friday, uh, she was fine. Saturday, she was back to normal. Monday, she went back to school. And then, Scotty asked, how do I avoid catching from my daughter? Well, if you want to use the word lockdown, as soon as she tests positive, we locked her or Cole inside her room. That's how we avoided. She couldn't come out. If she did come out, we allowed her to come out. If she came out, she had her KN95 mask on. Anything she touched, she had to wash and wipe down. But she was literally in her room the entire time. And so even if any of us went in or even opened the door and stayed in the hallway, we had a mask on. We made sure we kept windows open just to keep a nice constant breeze coming in, airflow. And we live up on top of the hill, so when there's wind here, it's like a hurricane. So there's definitely wind. But yeah, like I said, I had my son test again that week. I When she tested positive, I gave him a home test here, negative. We all tested. Like I said, I test twice a week. So yeah, uh, but the good graces of God and the luck of not getting positive, that's how we avoided it. Like there, I can't tell you exactly why. Maybe we're just lucky because the home test we took, I was telling you this, Mel, right? When they tell you, oh, wait 15 minutes. When I swabbed her nose, put it in, and then it took 30 seconds to pop up. So by the end of the 15 minutes, there was a bold blue thing. So obviously, positive. But yeah, so like what happens 6 months, 9 months, a year from now? Hopefully nothing. And she doesn't have any type of, long haul COVID type symptoms. As of right now, she's good. She hasn't complained with softball practice last week and then, today. So that's what I worry about, right? With all this respiratory type issues. And even with some of our baseball boys who caught it, I watch to see if they're exercising, running around the bases, if I see any of them coming up kind of short breath right now. And the good news is they're not. Is it attributed to being an athlete and you may be in better condition? Possibly. But we'll kind of see in the future if there's anything long lasting and we can say, okay, she recovered pretty damn well from it.
Yeah. And just gotta watch. My daughter still gets winded, and it's been a long time. Um, I think the brain fog has kind of gone away now, but yeah, and the problem they're finding now is that a lot of these long haulers, the secondary impact of COVID doesn't happen for a while. So we just gotta watch and pray and make sure they're all right. And and depending how severe, how much of the load did they actually get. A lot of thing again to the vaccination, because if you're vaccinated or boosted, you really impact the viral load of the virus, so it creates less of an issue, and that's why people don't get as sick, the vaccinated people. So a lot of things. Anyway, we're at the 8:02 point, but I did want to ask by special request, Governor Ige, you have any closing comments for the village? You have any closing comments for the village before we say goodnight?
Uh, I don't know, guys. I think the state will be fine. Uh, we might be loosening some restrictions, but don't worry. I love all of you, and Hawaii no ka oi.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Governor. I appreciate you so much. I know it's hard to get you on TV. I know you're hiding a lot. I think you're afraid to take questions from humans. So, but I appreciate you making the time to come tonight and share with us, Tyson. As always, it's always great to have you here. Appreciate you
Hey,
for what you do, bro. Any closing thoughts from Tyson and not Ige?
Ah, man, it's always fun if you need to kill some airtime with someone who is really shy and afraid of speaking. I'm always there. I'm coming out of my bubble and my comfort zone to be here talking to people. And I just, I'm gonna have a hard time sleeping tonight because I'm traumatized by all of this. No, not, nothing. There's not much to say. It's always fun coming on. I have um, no problem answering a question, and most of the things is what I think. I don't try and persuade anyone to think the way that I do. I will answer a question. I will have debates, uh, but I'll never attack someone for what they think or doing all of that. Hey, you gotta feel what you gotta do, right? It goes back to do what you think is best for yourself, and if that will lead towards helping others or protecting others, hey, so be it. If not, doesn't matter, right? Because at the end of the day, you gotta do what's good for you. So, no, besides that, it's always fun seeing the village on, and we'll get it going. And don't worry, eventually we're gonna have a show where it's just we're gonna be talking sports, man.
We're going to have to transition off of COVID. I mean, at some point. And Tyson and I have been talking about doing a sports podcast. I know we talked to my son about doing a podcast and just talking about life in general, and a lot of opportunities to pivot off of this. But we will, the village will remain, and this show will remain in some form, and because it is all about the village. All right, guys. So anyway, thanks again for joining us tonight. Like Tyson said, it all comes down to what we got to do for ourselves and the ones we love. Make sure we share our manao with those that we love, and most of all, man, do what it takes to protect others and yourself. All right, we love you guys. Take care. Stay safe. God bless. We'll see you guys on Wednesday night.